Welcome to Navigating the Modern World with Coach Eli, and the topic of today's video is Hinge survey says Gen Z over hookup culture post-COVID. One more time. Hinge survey says Gen Z over hookup culture post-COVID. Let's get right to this. This is from the New York Post. And it was written on August 30th, 2022. So about a week old as of the time of this recording. And written by news.com.au. No actual author. Okay. Let's get right to it because this was very, very interesting. My lady also sent me this article, and I felt it was just very much in alignment regarding what I do. The pandemic was something of a reset for many ways of life we took for granted. And new data shows that it's even been a catalyst in changing the modern dating scene, particularly for Gen Z. So to put it in perspective, Gen Zers are aged, I believe it's like 10 through, 24, 25, 25 through 40 millennials, and 40 through 55 Gen Xers, and then 55 and above, for the next 15 years or so, baby boomers, right? Now, there's the alpha generation, which is age 10 or under 10, right? But they're not old enough to even think about dating yet. They're getting there, but they're not old enough yet. So Gen Z is the youngest generation of age to date. And I think this goes beyond what happened during the pandemic. I was still going on dates during the pandemic, and I didn't let it affect me. Yes, were there some women that, just wouldn't date, wanted to, maybe hang out and take hikes and socially distance 6 feet apart. And I was like, okay, I understand. We got to be cautious. We had to be cautious during that time before we reached herd immunity. But I'm like, why go on a date if, I can't walk alongside someone or hold their hand or kiss them or anything? There really is no point. People were getting tested, and as long as you tested fine, no problem. But yeah, a lot of the Gen Zers and a lot of people were really freaking out about being anywhere near anyone during that time. But it's more than that. It's also, the way the millennials, have been scrutinized with the way they're living their lives, and with, most millennial men having a lack of masculinity nowadays, and most millennial women being the breadwinners and being more successful in the workforce than men. And I think the Gen Zers all around want to turn this around. So I'm really, really thrilled to see this article and see this data from Hinge and what's actually happening. Let's continue here. New data from Hinge found that while Gen Z felt they'd missed out on the fundamentals of dating after 2 years of lockdowns and social distancing, a full 45% of users on the app felt they'd changed their dating habits for the better. Well, that's nice to hear. That's a huge amount. That's almost half of the people. Maybe during the lockdowns, people were more so hooking up and not getting tied down. They didn't want to go out publicly. They just would hang out at home as long as they were tested, negative and stuff. But now that, basically, at least here in the U.S. and in many other countries, they've reached herd immunity with their vaccination statuses, and it's safe. So people now want something more genuine. Let's continue and find out more. Honesty is the best policy. I agree. Gen Z is only interested in romantic relationships that feel additive to their everyday lives, and they're not the only ones. Well, count me in on that. I'm a Gen Xer. I've always believed in honesty is the best policy, and I've always believed in nothing but romantic relationships. And for me, I've never been able to be intimate with a woman that I don't have an emotional bond with. And how can you have an emotional bond with a woman that you're not in a relationship? Come on. Isn't that cute there? Isn't that sweet? Look at that. Two young, happy people, a man and a woman. They look cute. Many Hinge users reported they had learned to be more honest about their feelings during COVID-19. A full 39% of Hinge users reported being pickier about whom they went on a date with since the pandemic. Well, you should be picky. You should know what you want and know what you don't want. And focus on what you want so you don't waste time with the wrong people and become jaded, so that when the right person does come around, you don't give them a chance. And 91% of those people say they made the change because they don't want to waste time on the wrong person. I've been saying that all along. This is a very well-written article. This is so well-written and makes me so proud of the Gen Zers. It leads me to further believe the Gen Zers are really, truly trying to turn around, the stereotype that the millennials were given. The Gen Zers do not want to have the millennial stereotype. I'm really proud of you Gen Zers. And I'm not saying that I'm not proud at all about the millennials. There are some millennials I'm proud of, but a lot of millennials just, my God, one of the strangest generations in history, the millennials. And they get triggered when I call them out on it, because they're hearing that from everyone. And not only that, they know deep within themselves that a lot of them, are not, being the best version of themselves they can be. That's the bottom line. On that note, while most older people are no strangers to dating games and archaic rules, singles have given it all up to be more honest with their feelings and intentions. That's how you get what you want. You need to be honest and open and genuine with your feelings and intentions. Even as a man, don't be afraid to come out and say, hey, I'm only seeking something romantic. I'm not looking for a one-night stand. I'm not looking for a quick fix. There's nothing wrong coming out and saying that initially, even in your dating profiles, right? And stick to that, right? And only talk with women, guys that want the same thing. And same thing with women. Only talk with men that want the same thing. Huge data saw Gen Z felt like they'd missed out on the fundamentals of dating after 2 years of lockdowns. That's a nice picture there, being on the smartphone, sitting on the couch. Feet on the couch. All right. Many Hinge users reported they had learned to be more honest about their feelings during the pandemic. Well, that's because they had so much time on their hands, because they couldn't go out and do the things that, people can do when there aren't lockdowns. So they spent a lot of time at home. They spent a lot of time probably on dating apps, probably on other apps, and talking, with people, right? The pandemic, honestly, was probably something that really, really saved the Gen Z culture from going down the same path as the millennials, right? Because for a year to year and a half, or almost 2 years, the Gen Zers, really learned how to communicate, really learned how to use the phone to talk with people and have conversations, and not just go out, have random hookups and party and do all the stupid shit the millennials have done, right? Now, I'm not saying that other generations haven't done stupid things, but, the millennials are unlike any other generation I've ever seen, and their dating habits are completely different than any other generation I've seen. And Gen Zers have been doing the best they can to turn that around and not have that stereotype. And this is just really nice to see. This is really nice to see what's happening here. And again, the pandemic probably played a part in that. It allowed these Gen Zers to talk more and get to know each other before rushing into something or just fooling around, having one-night stands or whatever. I really like how this went. Let's continue. If this all means an end to wasting time on someone only looking for a fling but never being honest about their intentions, then this new dating scape sounds like heaven. I'm going to give you a big round of applause for that. Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean, that's exactly what I was saying in fewer words. Amen. Hinge's director of relationship science, Logan Uri, agrees that upfront honesty is the best policy. Couldn't have said it better myself. Make sure you talk early on in the dating journey about your goals and values. I've been saying that not only throughout this entire video, but in almost every dating video I talk about. Okay? You got to be open and honest. Talk about what you want and don't want. Be upfront from the very beginning so there are no surprises and neither one of you waste time on someone you thought you knew, but you really didn't because you two were holding back initially, right? You need to be upfront about, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, and what you're truly seeking. Okay? It can be hard to bring up, because sometimes men and women think like you're trying to say too much too soon. I've had that happen to me in the past when I was single, right? But any woman that would question me saying, you're asking too many questions, what is this, an interview? You're saying too much too soon. I would just say, well, then it's not going to work out. I'm looking for someone that's transparent and open and honest from the very beginning. And since it seems like you're not really ready to be fully transparent with me, I'm going to let you go. And that's the truth, right? If you come across someone like that, guys and gals, then you got to let them go. They're just not ready. Someone that's ready and truly knows what they want is going to express themselves and make you aware of what they want, and they're going to want to know exactly what you want, and it's not going to bother them. Okay? It can be hard to bring up, but if it turns out you're not on the same page, it will save you a lot of time and heartbreak and heartache. Long term. I really love this article. One more time. It can be hard to bring up, but if it turns out you're not on the same page, it will save you a lot of time and heartbreak long term. I'm going to give you another big round of applause. Yeah, because that's the truth of the matter. I've been saying that all along. You got to get to the point. Get to know each other as quickly as possible. You want to find out exactly, where you connect and where you disconnect and see if you even want to go on a first date, right? Or maybe use the first date to see, you still want to ask a lot of questions by phone before you meet on a first date. But by the end of that first date, you should know if you want to go on a second date or not with each other, okay? And if it's even worthy of going on a second date. Maybe the woman thinks, she wants to go on a second date with you, but maybe you're feeling something different, right? Don't go on a second date with her just because she wants to go on one with you. If you're not feeling it, you got to move on and find someone that you're feeling it with. All right. Farewell to hookup culture. That's good. It's about time. I don't think hookup culture is going to go anywhere anytime soon. But it's nice to see the Gen Zers are trying to take a stance in less of a hookup culture and more of a meaningful relationship type of culture. Maybe the Gen Zers will start to have more kids and make up for the lack of kids that the millennials didn't want to have, because the millennial women have been more career focused than family focused, or they waited too long to have kids, and then they struggled to find a partner that wanted to get married, with them, because now these women were 32, 35, 37, and while they can still have kids at that age, it's towards the end of their biological clock expiring, right? So I think the Gen Zers are trying to turn this around. I really like this. This is great. Farewell to hookup culture. And what would that right person be for most singles? Overwhelmingly someone with whom they share a deeper connection. Wow. Food for thought. The right person would be someone whom they share a deeper connection with. Wow. Who would ever think that, right? I love having a deep connection with my woman. She loves having a deep connection with me. And you know what? I already miss her. I'm recording this video on a Monday. She just went back home. I can't wait to see her on Friday. Had a great time with her this past weekend because we have a deep connection. There's no better feeling than having a deep connection with someone, folks. Over half of Hinge users reported that their relationship goals had changed since the pandemic. They're now looking for a long-term, serious relationship. Wow. That's fantastic. I have nothing more to add to that. That's great to hear. A full 39% of Hinge users reported being pickier about whom they went on a date with since the start of COVID-19. Cool. While undefined situationships, that I started hearing that phrase, situationships, a few years ago. Maybe the pandemic created it. Who knows? Situationship is, you're hanging out with someone, you're having sex, you're just kind of hanging out. Maybe you both really, truly aren't, deeply into each other, but you're physically attracted to each other and you're just someone to the other person to pass time with until the right person comes along. So while undefined, situationships were still common for 34% of users. Yeah, that's basically the hookup culture there. Everyone who managed to turn that into a real relationship said they did so by being more clear about what they wanted. Well, maybe these Gen Z guys are growing, a spine, or they're growing a set of balls. And they're saying, look, you know what? We've been hanging out for like 6 months. We have great sex. And, it's like, yeah, we got something casual here, but you know what? I don't want anything casual anymore. I'm kind of looking for something a little more deeper meaning. Are you looking for the same? Are you cool with that? Or do you just want to keep it at this? Or do you just want to part ways? Like in these situationships, there's nothing wrong with a guy coming out and saying, look, I don't want to be in a situationship anymore, right? It's not the same situation where, let's say you meet someone and you both are looking for a romantic relationship and you start dating. You still want to let the woman bring up the relationship and making it exclusive 2 to 3 months into the relationship. But if you're in a situationship and you both are just hooking up, you're having great sex, you're hanging out, you're not committed. And even if you're a guy and you're 6 months into it and you're like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I want something more meaningful. Nothing wrong with sharing your thoughts with the woman you're in a situationship with. And you'd be surprised. Maybe she'll say, you know what? I thought you'd never ask. Or maybe she'll say, I only got in a situationship with you because I really didn't think you were looking for something serious and I didn't want to scare you away. And it's really nice to hear you want something more meaningful. I would love to try to have something more meaningful because you're a great guy, right? You'd be surprised, what things can turn into if, you guys as young men grew a set of balls, and it sounds like the Gen Zers are, and just talking with women, you'd be surprised. Like women nowadays are so used to men not having the balls to just even confront them, that if you just ask, you never know what's going to happen. So I really like how this is going. This is great. Many daters feel like they're making up for lost time and are ready for a long-term committed relationship, explained Uri. Self-care is number one. Absolutely. I always say self-care, self-respect, self-love. You got to love yourself before anyone else can love you. Love yourself in a non-selfish way, which is what I always say. So don't misperceive that. But self-care is important, very important. Let's see here. Thankfully, the social focus seems to have shifted away from an individual's value being tied to their relationship status. Now it's a nice thing to have, not a necessity. But looking after yourself, that's forever. You know what? I could not have said that any better myself. Big round of applause! I could not have said that any better myself. Just look after yourself. Take care of yourself. Strive to become the best version of yourself you can be. And that's going to make you attractive to a lot of people. in all aspects of your life. The more you take care of yourself in a humble and non-selfish way, okay? And the more you love yourself in a humble and non-selfish way, you're just going to attract people left and right in all aspects of your personal and professional life. In fact, 78% of Hinge users say they're taking steps to invest in their mental health, and 59% reported taking time to focus on themselves before diving into a relationship. Into a relationship, which is what I'm trying to say. Another big round of applause. This article is blowing me away. And it's making me want to come out and say, how come the millennial men can't listen to this? And look at what the Gen Zers are doing and how they're showing up and how they're trying to turn things around compared to how you millennial men and some women, but primarily the biggest failures amongst the millennials are the majority of the men. It's the truth of the matter. The Gen Zers, I'm not saying none of them are failing. Some are, but the majority are doing a hell of a lot better and striving to become a lot better than the millennial men did. And a lot of millennial men, even now in their 30s, and well, they're between, 25 and 40. A lot of millennial men now, even the ones that are age 30 to 40, still haven't grown up, are still behaving exactly the same way they did as they were a teenager, right? And it's just a big turnoff to women, and that's why women are saying, where have all the good men gone? I agree. Gen Zers are turning this around. It's really nice to see this. It's really, really nice to see this. Hopefully they can keep the trend going and turn this around and, reduce that divorce rate from an all-time high of 60%. A good sign, considering a full 97% of users said they'd rather be dating someone who looks after their mental health, and 86% were more likely to agree to a second date if their partner was going to therapy. Well, you don't have to necessarily be going to therapy to be a good person. I think what they're trying to say is that they're looking for someone that has their shit together, that's mentally and emotionally stable, and striving to be financially, successful and stable, right? Because, these Gen Zers, the oldest ones are 24, 25, right? So, there's still, a lot of younger ones, age 10 through 17. They're still not adults. The ones that are 18 to 24, 25, they're just getting in the workforce or starting at entry-level positions, right? Or they're getting degrees or getting into trades, right? So as long as, both the men and women are striving to be the best that they can be, that doesn't mean they necessarily need therapy. I mean, if they have some serious issues, they should go to therapy. But, 86% were more likely to agree to a second date if their partner was going to therapy. That's quite staggering. I mean, I wonder why they would say that, with such a high amount. Are these Gen Zers used to dealing with a lot of nutcases? I don't get that. It's a pretty high number. I don't think therapy is necessary for everyone, but some people do need it, right? And it shouldn't be a deciding factor on whether you go on a second date with somebody or not. It should be, how the person is. Therapy or not, if you're a good person that's laid back, down to earth, and you are mentally and emotionally stable and stuff, and you come off that way and you are that way, whether you go to therapy or not, what does it matter? You're a cool, stable, down to earth, normal person. So I think I've driven that point into the ground. All right. There's some comments down below there. We're not going to read them, but that's just a great article. And thank you to my lady for sending me this article. Hinge survey says Gen Z over hookup culture post-COVID. All right, let's go back to full screen and start to wrap this up. All right, folks, thank you for taking the time to view this video. Please like, share, subscribe. bang the bell and select the notifications here on my main channel, Coach Eli, Elias Melas. Please also go below the description, a couple lines down, and subscribe to Coach Eli 2 Authentic Live Streams. That's my live streaming channel. It's also a monetized channel. It's been monetized for a little over a month now. I do regular live streams there. I do Walking with Purpose live streams almost every day. And sometimes I'll do a second stream from the studio live in similar format like this, but it's live and there's a live chat and everything, right? And we do real-time live coaching there. My lady and I do real-time live coaching. Sometimes I go live by myself from the studio, but most of the time it's with my lady. Then I do the Walking with Purpose streams by myself. So subscribe to Coach Eli 2 Authentic Live Streams. The link's below in the description, or just go to youtube.com/Coach Eli 2. Very simple, right? youtube.com/Coach Eli 2. With that being said, have yourselves a great one. Take care. And as always, be good to each other.